Hi guys, this is Black and Indigenous American. Once again, back-to-back live videos. Yes. Oh my goodness. Who would have thought, right? Okay, so this video actually was a request or a suggestion, I should say, with regards to how people identify by their tribal community exclusively versus also acknowledging their ethnicity within that tribal community. Over the past few years, I've gotten a chance to meet quite a few people within different tribal communities. And I would say Maryland, Delaware, Virginia, North Carolina, as well as when I traveled to the Southwest last year, okay? In addition, again, I mentioned people that are from another region of the world. They are transplants to the DC metropolitan area for work, for the most part. So this is an updated version of probably some of my videos some time ago about this topic of discussion, okay? Before I get into that, I did want to talk about a couple of things. Like right now, you probably noticed me wearing this sun visor, right? You notice what it says? It says Indigenous. I got this from a Native American woman-owned company called Mach 70, MOC 70, Mach 70. They have a Twitter page and they also have a Facebook page. I suggest you all check it out. Anyway, I'm familiar with the family that owns this business, so they're a vendor, and they typically, you'll see them at powwows up and down the East Coast. In particular, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania. I think they've gone all the way up to probably New York State, if I'm not mistaken. So I've bought a few things from them. I've bought this visor from them. I've bought a fleece jacket. I've bought a couple of t-shirts, one t-shirt in two different colors, and it was Strong Native Woman. And I really like the purple one. I've worn that quite a bit. So they're also Haliwa Saponi. So, you know, I obviously wanted to support Saponi people as well. And yeah, just overall a very nice family. And so I wanted to, whenever I can, I want to support them. And so again, they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook. Give them, you know, some support if you choose to, and we'll take it from there. So I'm actually going to take off this visor because I kind of don't like wearing hats or visors when I'm not in the sun. To me, it's just not, you know, it's not me. Okay. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there, Mach 70. Also, a couple of books that I have yet to read, but I've met the authors. So this first book is called That the Blood Stay Pure by Arica L. Coleman. I've been around this woman a few times, and she's very passionate. She's very passionate. Also, what I'm going to do after this video, maybe sometime tomorrow, I'm going to link a podcast that she was on. She was on Native Trailblazers. That's the name of the podcast, 6 years ago. And she was talking about her book. She was promoting her book, and some pushback she received from that. And so that way you can hear her talk about her book as well and what she had to go through. She lives in Delaware. She's a professor. And I think the first time I saw her was at the Nottoway Powwow. Once again, I keep mentioning the Nottoway Powwow in Surrey, Virginia. And yeah, I met her there. And like I said, she's a ball of energy. And she, of, you know, out of most people who have Black ancestry, they're also Indigenous American, right? Descendant of Indigenous Americans. She gets it. And sometimes that her style can be, I guess, very intense for some people because she tell it like it is. Now, this book, again, I haven't read it, but this book has a very almost like a textbook style versus an actual story like that you would get from some of these books. But just so you know, it's out there. And some people probably have seen this particular family before floating around on the internet. I've seen them as well. And this family, I believe they were in Virginia when this picture was taken. So I'll read one review that's on the back of this book, just to give you an idea. It says, Coleman has produced a provocative book dealing with situations that are, as she notes, quote, filled with controversy and pain, end quote. From the first arrival of African workers as servants, not slaves, and slaves in 1619. Indian-Black relations have been engaged in, denied, legislated, and above all, complicated by socio-historical constructions of race and the meanings and values of racially defined groups. Sifting through the histories and writing clearly and openly, Coleman seeks to untangle the webs of meaning and fairly represent the individuals and groups involved. This powerful fairly represents the individuals and the groups involved. Okay, sorry, I skipped a line. This powerful volume is a significant contribution to the literatures on race and race relations in Virginia. So this is specifically Virginia, I believe. I think she's highlighting Virginia. And I think she's really going to talk in depth regarding Walker Plecker and the Racial Integrity Act of 1920 and all that good stuff. So just so you know, she's going in on this book. And again, once I'm done with this video, I'll probably add the link to the description box so you can click it and see if you're interested. Also, again, I'm going to leave the link to a podcast, Native Trailblazers. I believe they're still active on iTunes podcast. It's called Blog Talk, or yeah, Blog Talk Radio, I believe. Yeah, Blog Talk Radio. I've met Vincent Schilling because he interviewed her along with his wife. Trying to remember his wife's name, but they live in Virginia. They're not, well, I think his wife, I think she lived in North Carolina. And he was from somewhere else. I think he was from California. So the Schillings, that's their surname, they interviewed Arica Coleman. So I think many people out there will be interested in possibly giving it a listen. You don't necessarily have iTunes to actually listen to this because the link that I'm going to provide, that will take you directly to the website. And then you can click on the video and listen to it, okay? So also another book that I have yet to read, but I've met the author. Once again, the name of the book is called Who's Afraid of Black Indians by, her name is Shonda Buchanan. I've met her a few years ago, and guess where I met her? The Nottoway Native American Powwow. Native American Powwow in Virginia. I think at the time she was living in the Tidewater area, I believe Hampton, Virginia. She too is a professor, and she has another book out, but the first book was called Who's Afraid of Black Indians? It's on Kindle, so you can get that through Amazon. You can get that for like $3, like $2.99 if you're interested. I'll read a little bit from Amazon here. It says, Who's Afraid of Black Indians is a difficult yet beautiful collection of poetry that peeks into one American family's cultural window. Wanting to forget the past, this chapbook of poetry, so it's poetry, right, explores the journey Shonda's ancestors took from North Carolina to Tennessee to Indiana and finally Michigan. And the fight to escape racial persecution and racial classification. Racial classification. Not culture or nothing like that. Racial. Okay. Yet it is also a book about the recovery of an identity. Recovery. And many Indigenous people, descendants, or whatever category you want to put them in, are now recovering from that. Generations. And so this is a beautiful thing. The intersection of Blacks and Indians in this country. And this is how it's on her book. Now, I know Indian may not be politically correct for some people. They prefer Indigenous Americans. So maybe going forward, she will identify people as Indigenous American versus Indian. But anyway, Shonda and her family, like so many other biracial Native Americans, suffer from not knowing their full roots and the ills of assimilation, all the while in enduring society's ever-evolving definition of them. This book will hopefully help other Black Indians, as well as biracial and triracial peoples, research, reclaim, and celebrate their multifaceted heritage. So she got a lot of pushback. I mean, I've heard a couple of things that happened that I think triggered this book. And I think if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, and if she or anyone who knows her happens to watch this video and I am wrong, you call me out, okay? Because I don't want to be talking about something that I have no clue about. I think, number one, she wears her hair in dreads. You know where I'm coming. You know where I'm going with this. Arica Coleman also wears her hair in dreads. Long locks, okay? Down to their butt. Locks. So anyway, I believe Shonda Buchanan went to a powwow somewhere in Virginia, I believe, and they started carding people. I think this was the first time they ever did that, I think. And people that were there supporting that powwow for years, all of a sudden, they're being asked to show their tribal cards. And many people didn't have tribal cards because they were more Indigenous American than a card to allow them to dance. So that created some friction, but apparently, I think because she was a woman who was in, darker complexion, and she wasn't hiding her hair texture for anyone. Her locks just flows, okay? Her locks flows, just beauty. And I guess that rubbed some people the wrong way. They didn't want, I guess they were trying to get some kind of recognition. They wanted the people at their powwow to look very stereotypical Indigenous American. And some people they called out, and this is even towards people that look white. So not just people who have that darker complexion and kinkier hair, natives, but also people who look very much European and they do not have that dark hair, or not, maybe they don't have the long hair. Maybe their skin is very light versus that tan copper color. So a lot of people, and again, I don't remember the name of this powwow, and if I did, I won't mention it, but a lot of people were very hurt. A lot of people stopped going to this particular powwow, and I think this book actually triggered, that event actually kind of like was the needle that broke the camel's back or whatever. And so she put this book out there. So again, I haven't read it yet, but it is, a Kindle edition. It's $2.99 on Amazon. I'm going to leave the link at the bottom in the description box when I, probably sometime tomorrow. And for those out there that are interested, again, I've met both authors. They seem like very sweet, intelligent women. And they're talking about things that a lot of people don't want to publicly talk about. And when I said, I mean, as far as acknowledging their African Black blood along with their indigenous blood. And so, and I've mentioned this before in another video, I have people who I've over the years gotten to know, and they was like, you need to choose. If you're gonna be Black, as far as culturally, right? If you're gonna be Indigenous American, Native American, just be that. Don't mix it together. And so this is a transition into what I'm about to talk about. You have communities in the southeast of the United States, and probably up and down the East Coast, I would say, of the United States, where publicly, because that community may be seeking some sort of recognition by either their locals, or federal government. And so there's so many loopholes and things that you have to kind of jump through. Many little things you have to jump through. And so the more you mingle with people that look too much like another race of people, if you dress like people from another group or racial people, if you wear your hair like another group in a racial community, then that apparently takes away from your indigenous, the authentic indigenous element of who you are. There's plenty, and this is an example, there's plenty of people who love country music. Not just white people. There's plenty of people that love country music. But just because someone loves country music, they wear a cowboy hat and some boots, and they doing line dancing or whatever, that does not mean they are white. They are still not white. Now, culturally, they may be somewhat received if the people in that community know this person, they've gotten used to this person being around at, country music events and stuff like that, they give them a pass, right? But they're still not white racially. I say the same thing when it comes to people who like hip hop. There's plenty of people that love hip hop. Hip hop is kind of categorized, or at least initially, as Black music, Black American music. And eventually it spread like wildfire, where you have so many people who love hip hop, rap, all over the world. Global respect for hip hop. I'm thinking of Asia right now, like Korea. There's so many Korean people that love some hip hop. They can flow and rap either in English or their language. They dress from head to toe. You have subcultures in Korea that people dress like musical artists on rap videos. They got the hat turned back, they got the gold chain, they got that swag, right? You know, they got that swag. If you didn't know any different, you would think that they were part of the Black culture. But at the same time, they're Korean. Well, that's different when it comes to Indigenous Americans. Now, publicly, many have been taught to disconnect, again, publicly, from being identified as being anything but Indigenous American. Some people will tell you straight to your face, I'm 100% Indian. I'm 100% Native American. Instead of saying I am whatever, I am Navajo or I am Dene, right? They will say I'm 100% Indian. Okay. Is there a reason why you feel the need to say I'm 100%? Come on now. Let's keep it real. We're talking about the East Coast. We're talking about the region of land. First contact. Not just European people, but other explorers that were non-white, that traveled to our coast, our East Coast, way before there were any interaction in the, you know, Midwest, Southwest regions of now the United States of America. So, of course, 200 years between first contact and then the indigenous people that are well known today, that are federally recognized and everything, that may not necessarily mix the whole lot with outsiders, right? But if you are an East Coast Indigenous American person and you say you are 100% Native American, do you think you're fooling anybody? Like, really? Culturally, that's different. We'll get on that in a second. But ethnically, racially, do you really think you're fooling anybody? Come on. Come on now. And I see it all the time. And I hear it all the time. And I think more and more people, especially the younger, like the generation behind me, who are now kind of in their early 20s, maybe late teens, whatever. I don't hear as much of that. I hear more of a cultural identity. So when they say I'm 100% not a Dene or whatever, they could just mean I'm 100% in this culture. Like, I don't mix other cultures with my identity. I choose to identify with my Dene culture. I know someone who is biracial, but was raised by his mother's nationality or whatever, right? So the food, the music, all of that, growing up, that's what he was introduced to. Even though he's an American citizen, United States American citizen, born and raised here. So of course he has influence from other aspects of living here. But when it comes to his mom, she actually put a lot of her culture like first in his life. You know, she spoke around him in her language. Whenever there was some kind of get together, it was around other people, her people. And so to this day, he identified as being his mom's people. Like, he doesn't say I'm biracial or I'm half this, half that. He just say I am. And it's a culture thing. And it can get confusing because, you know, for a while there, I'm like, okay, what's the difference between culture and ethnicity or race? Just look at it this way. Let's say you're Indigenous American from the Americas. We're going to just broaden it for a minute, right? Western Hemisphere, Americas. One community is not like all the other communities. Everyone has their own belief systems, their language, the way they do things, customs, what have you. They have their own creation stories, right? And so that's culture for the most part. Yes, there's the religion aspect of it. Yes, there's the ethnicity aspect of it, right? But if you kind of look at it on the broad, you know, spectrum, it's culture. And you're not going to go in someone's home and walk in that house without knocking and rearrange stuff because that's what you're used to, and tell these people, okay, this is my house now, and we're going to do things the way I like to do it, and we're going to speak my language. You can't speak your language anymore. To me, that's genocide, culture genocide, and I understand why some people, when they publicly are out and about in society, they say I'm 100% in whatever that community is. But when they talk about race and they say I'm 100% Native American, and this goes for I'm 100% African American. I'm like, what the hell is 100% African American? Like, tell me, what the hell is that? 100% African American. Like, do people really think that there's this such thing as a pure African American? If you, okay, for whoever eventually watches this and the people that are watching right now, if you have the answer to that question, please forward it to me. Are we talking about culture? Or are we talking about race? Because if we're talking about race, there's no pure Africans that live in this country. Now, there might be a small percent of people, and I'm not talking about those who transplanted here, maybe first, second generation Nigerian or whatever. We ain't talking about them. We talking about the people who've been here, families been here for generations, since, you know, the 1600s or whatever. That's who I'm talking about. Now, I'm thinking of a community, let's see. What is the name of that group? I'm thinking here. Off the coast of South Carolina. Anybody watching, if you know the answer to this, I would appreciate it if you share. I'm doing a quick search right now to see if I can find it. What are those people called? Gullah. The Gullah people. The Gullah people. Now, these people were so isolated from the mainland that I can understand if they actually didn't mix a whole lot with everybody else. That I can understand if they are probably some of the closest to pure Africans, close to pure Africans. that's been here for generations in the United States. According to Wikipedia, it says the Gullah are African Americans who live in the low country region of the U.S. states of Georgia, Florida, and South Carolina, in both the coastal plain and the sea islands. They develop a Creole language, the Gullah language, and a culture rich in African influences that makes them distinctive among African Americans. Historically, the Gullah region extended from the Cape Fear area on North Carolina's coast south to the vicinity of Jacksonville on Florida's coast. Today, the Gullah area is confined to the Georgia and South Carolina low country. The Gullah people and their language are also called Geechee, which may be derived from the name of the Ogeechee River near Savannah, Georgia. Okay, I went to Savannah a couple of summers ago for a wedding. And oh, how I wanted to explore that region. I just didn't have time. I was only there for like a day and a half, but there's so much history there. And the thing is, when I went there, I literally felt at home. I had a rental car, so within a couple of hours, I knew how to drive through South. I knew how to drive through Savannah. It was just like, it was familiar, and I've never been there before. Let's see, Gullah is a term that was originally used to designate the Creole dialect of English spoken by Gullah and Geechee people. Over time, its speakers have used this term to formally refer to their Creole language and distinctive ethnic identity as a people. The Georgia communities are distinguished by identifying as either freshwater Geechee or saltwater Geechee, depending on whether they live on the mainland or the sea islands. Now, again, this is Wikipedia. There could be some inaccurate information, but those are the first two paragraphs of this group of people. So I have comments here. Okay, thank you. So you pretty much answered my question earlier. So thanks for chiming in, VG Vaughn. You say the Gullah Geechee people, they live on the coast of Savannah, Georgia, and Carolinas. Yes, so that's pretty much what I got from Wikipedia. Thank you for commenting. I appreciate it. But yeah, that whole I am 100% African American. I'm 100% Black. And I'm looking at you and I see so much history, so much diversity. And for a person to, I can understand why a person will put Black up there and just exclude everything else publicly. I can kind of understand that. Some people feel like, I don't want to highlight the other ethnic racial mixture I have because maybe that relative took advantage of this relative, and that's why this person looks this kind of way and doesn't look, you know, African, Black, Sub-Saharan as much as the next person. So they want to, if they're going to represent excellence, they want it to be connected to their Black ancestry. Because unfortunately, you have a lot of people that think less of Black people for whatever reason. So if you can show excellence and you identify yourself as Black, maybe that will help people understand that Black excellence is actually a reality. I can kind of understand that, but at the same time, looking at you and you look like you're from, I don't know, the Cape Verdean Islands, you're mixed with Portuguese and Guinea-Bissau, right, West African. And you look like Alicia Keys. Or you look like, I'm thinking of some famous people right now. You're looking like Robin Thicke's ex-wife. She's an actress. I can't think of her name. But you saying, oh, I'm 100% Black. I understand on the continent of Africa, there are so many languages and people and countries. And a lot of people look so different from each other, but they're all Africans. And in particular, sub-Saharan Africans are identified as Black people. And that can be a little controversy with the whole Northern African versus everybody else. Northern Africans believe they're not connected with Black Africans and blah, blah, blah. But some people are like, oh, we come in all shades. We have all different types of features, phenotypes, hair texture, you know. We're Black, but we have a variety. We have so many languages and so many cultures, and Black people can look like anything, but we're still Black. I understand that over there. I get it. But over here, we have a different history, recent history, within the last 400 or 500 years. You're not going to look like you're West African and magically look like an Alicia Keys. That doesn't, okay, let me pump my brakes. There are stories of people who are, you know, a West African, no sort of European mixture whatsoever, and they have a child that looks like a white child. And I'm not talking about albinos either. It was just like the DNA I don't know what happened, but this child looks white and their parents look very dark skinned. It's like, how did it happen? It's called genetics. And that shows you that a Black person that probably ain't never been mixed with nothing else, they just authentically African Black, and they produce a lighter skinned child. That's possible. So I think a lot of these I'm 100% Black people in this country, I think they're getting a little mixed up on that phenomenon of two dark-skinned parents having a very light-skinned, white-looking child. Because the history over here, the story over here, has a lot of complex interaction with Europeans. So back to Indigenous American and people saying I'm 100% Native American on the East Coast. There is a singer out there. She was on The Voice. Her name is Brooke Simpson. I'm definitely a fan of Brooke Simpson. She represents the Haliwa Saponi. So she is part of the Saponi family, even though that tribe is a branch from the Saponi people. But overall, to me, she represents not only Native Americans in general, but she represents all Saponi people. And she can sing. She can sing. And, you know, if you look at her, you'll be like, yeah, she looks Native American. Da, da, da. Her people from North Carolina. And she was interviewed by Native Opinions, which is a podcast. I'm a huge fan of that podcast. And two of the hosts, they have all different types of topics that I can relate to. And when she was on that radio show, I noticed, I don't know if this was a nervous thing with her. Hi, Coco. Thanks for tuning in. As you can see, the title of this video is about culture versus ethnic identity. So anyway, Brooke Simpson, I've noticed a few interviews I watched of her or either heard over the radio. The first thing she says is, I'm 100% Native American, and I'm a member of the Haliwa Saponi tribe in North Carolina. And my thing is, why does she feel the need to say I'm 100% Native American? Again, I'm a fan. She represents the Saponi people well, okay, overall. But at the same time, it's like interview after interview after interview. She kept saying, I'm 100% Native American. I'm 100% Native American. I'm 100% Native American. And I'm like, why does she feel the need to say that? They're state recognized. They're trying to get federally recognized. And I don't know if this was just something that has been instilled in her to publicly only identify with her Native American heritage. Now, again, it's her choice. It's her choice. She can choose whatever. But guess what? Her husband is a darker skinned man with dreads. And she's madly in love with him. And she doesn't hide her love for her husband. But when it comes to her, she identifies, as far as race, as 100% Native American. People from North Carolina. So that right there, I'm like, I don't know, Brooke. So anyway, I was on her page on Facebook, and after so many interviews and everything, and I just made a comment. I was like, you know, I'm your fan. You do us proud. I'm so happy that you're representing, you know, North Carolina natives in general, in particular the Saponi people overall. You know, continue to do a great job. However, I don't understand why you always refer to yourself as 100% Native American. Why don't you just say, I am Haliwa Saponi? I am a member of the Haliwa Saponi tribe. So instead of identifying with race, you could just say, I am whatever. But she said, I am 100% Native American, and I am a member of the Haliwa Saponi tribe. To me, there's not many people out there that at this stage in the 21st century identify with the whole I'm 100% Native American, because the tribal connection, the culture is more powerful than that. I mean, you even have tribal communities that you could talk all day about how much blood you have, but do you have enough of whatever to be considered a member in their community? You can be 100% Native American all you want, but do you have enough tribal blood? So if we take this conversation a little further, with her identifying as being 100% Native American and Haliwa Saponi, is she saying she's 100% Haliwa Saponi as far as any and all Indigenous American ancestry? That would be hard to believe, because if any of you guys got a chance or had a chance to research the interactions between so many different tribal communities that either were absorbed in other tribal communities or they were adopted into other tribal communities, what have you. A lot of that happened within the Piedmont region, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. A lot of moving around, different little small groups, right? And so to say that you are 100%, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, 100% Haliwa Saponi. Well, first of all, Haliwa is not necessarily a word. It's actually parts of words. Like Holly is Hollister, North Carolina. So Hollister, North Carolina, and W-A comes from Warren County. So the indigenous people who lived in those two counties in North Carolina that identify as being Indigenous American, that are connected through this to the overall Saponi Nation, people. They created the Haliwa in front of Saponi because it identifies the county, not rivers, not waterways, not reservations. It's the county that they are connected to. So that's where the Haliwa Saponi name comes from. And so, and most of the people who are state recognized or even federally recognized in the state of North Carolina, and I'm picking on North Carolina right now because that state in Virginia I know more about, okay? Those groups are very much connected to indigenous people that were sent to Fort Christ Anna in Lawrenceville, Virginia, which is in Brunswick County, Virginia, which is the county next to Mecklenburg County, Virginia, where I'm from, okay? So a lot of the history, a lot of that history is connected to Fort Christ Anna. That's when they were trying to Christianize natives in that region. And then after that ended, then people dispersed, and some went back to North Carolina, others went to Ohio, others went, to New York State. So, many stayed around the region, the Piedmont region. They didn't go anywhere, been there for generations, right? And so to say that you're 100% Haliwa Saponi, that to me will be hard to believe, at least for the state of North Carolina. That will be very hard for me to believe that. First contact, you're right on the coast. Your state is right on the coast of the Atlantic. And you've had different explorers coming in and out, either via South Carolina, via Florida, via New Orleans, Louisiana, the Gulf region, obviously via the Caribbean, right? So if it's culturally, I get it. Because they do have a strong, tight community, the Haliwa Saponi people. They have a very tight community. And based on what I've learned over the years, they've done so much with so little over the years. And I cannot knock the efforts to whatever culture that they can hold on to build on that. So the next generation and generation after that, whatever they was taught, that's now officially their culture. That's officially their tradition. That I can respect. That I can respect. But the whole 100% Native American comment, like I said, I can respect her identifying with her Haliwa Saponi tribal community. There's nothing wrong with that. That 100% Native American thing, yeah. I think and maybe that's another generation that taught them to say this in public, to be distinct from, be very separated from any other groups, even if they're in their family, because publicly we need to be Native American. So you have that. But yeah, I definitely love her energy. I'm talking about Brooke Simpson again. I love her energy. She is a powerhouse in and of herself. I mean, wow. Like I said, she was on The Voice, and she's been on several interviews, and she did a collaboration with a couple of other females, and they did Emotions. And I think what I'll do is I'll add that link also to the description box after this video so you guys can check it out. But yeah, it was absolutely gorgeous. Gorgeous. And what I'll do is I'll just play a little snippet so you can hear it. I'm assuming you can hear it while I'm doing this live video, We shall see, because it's on a different browser. Let's see. And see, Brooke is singing first. And just a little bit, little taste. Just a little taste.
It's over and done, but the heartache lives on inside. Who is the one that you're clinging to instead of me tonight? Where are you now that I need you? Tears on my pillow. Wherever you go, go. Cry me a river that leads to your ocean. You'll never see me fall apart. In the words of a broken heart, it's just emotions taking me over. Caught up in sorrow, lost in the song. But if you don't come back, come home to me, darling. Don't you know there's nobody left in this world to hold me tight? Don't you know there's nobody left in this world to kiss goodnight? Goodnight. Goodnight.
That's just a little taste, y'all. That's just a little taste. Girlfriend can throw down, okay? She can throw down. And so I love again her voice and everything. It's just, I got taken back a little bit when she said I'm 100% Native American, and again I just don't understand where that's coming from. I just don't. But of course I wish her well, and again I'm going to leave that link eventually so you guys can check that out. And the two other women, I'm thinking they just backing her up, right? Like a typical Destiny's Child, right? Oh no, those girls brought it as well. Oh my goodness, I literally had goosebumps, okay? They brought it, okay? And we're talking about Destiny's Child. We're talking about the one and only Destiny's Child, Beyonce, okay? And Brooke and those young ladies that was with her in that cover brought it. And I hope you guys actually could hear that, because that would be kind of silly me talking about it. You couldn't hear it. But yeah, best of luck to Brooke and all her future endeavors, and that she will continue to be a great example for all Saponi people, all Indigenous American people, and as well as her Haliwa Saponi community. She identifies with both, of course, race and culture. And again, her husband. I don't know his background, so I'm not going to have an opinion about who or what he is. I just know he wears dress and his complexion is darker, and she's madly in love with him, and vice versa, and she doesn't hide it. So of course, when they have kids, how are they going to are they going to have one particular culture stand out more than the other? Will there be a balance between the two cultures? A lot of people who are bi or triracial, this is sometimes difficult because they may be brought up to live a certain way publicly, but privately acknowledge it. Like, oh yeah, we have some black blood in us. Oh yeah, we have some white blood on daddy's side of the family, you know? But culturally, we are whatever that is, right? We like the foods, we like the music, we dress this way, we walk this way, we talk this way. So we are within this culture. So we are the culture. We are, you know, whatever. And so what they say, if it walks like a duck, it talks like it quacks like a duck or whatever, it's a duck. So anyway, I see, let's see. Coco, I guess you were talking about the beautiful voice, so I guess you did hear it. Americ Indian says Halito, at Niji, and Miss Coco Monroe, and myself. So hello, how are you doing? Coco says it would be both. Okay. When you say it would be both, are you talking about culture and race? I don't even remember what I just said. I'm sorry. So what would you mean by it would be both, Coco? I'm waiting. Okay. Well, I'm going to continue. Me personally, coming from a state that that created a system based on Jim Crow laws and the Racial Integrity Act and everything, I've gone through records, and I've noticed, depending on the decade, depending on the decade, what the race was listed as. Not culture, not even identity, but race, what that person thought they were based on what they look like. So whatever the census taker thought, depending on the time of year and what this person looked like, they'll just jot down whatever. Not asking a person what their identity or how they self-identify. Nope. They didn't do that. They're like, okay, that person looked like a Negro, so I'm putting Negro down. Or I'm not sure about this person, so I'm gonna put mulatto. That person kind of looked like an Indian. I'm gonna put I down for Indian. And then a decade later, it changes. And I remember seeing, I want to say a divorce decree or something, one of my relatives, and they literally marked out the race, whatever that was, and put B for Black. It was, I guess, redacted or something some time ago. And then they changed the race to B for Black. So my family has been back and forth with the race thing, not self-identification, but what the census takers thought, back and forth, different records, you know. Like my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, 1 minute he was mulatto, 1 minute he was mixed, 1 minute he was Negro, 1 minute he was, Black. It fluctuated. So as far as me culturally, I was brought up culturally as African American Black, culturally, in the state of Virginia. And at family reunions, family functions, or whatever, you would see clues of Indigenous American influence. You would see that. It was like, it was really unspoken acknowledgement. Whenever we would get together, we will always talk about our indigenous blood. But a lot of that history was hidden from us as far as tribal this and tribal that. And over the years, I've connected information and figured some things out as a grown woman. So for those people who frown their nose up at people who are like me, who later in life put the pieces back together and still putting pieces back together, that is unfortunate. That is unfortunate that people like that have a sense of superiority because maybe their family kept all the records. Maybe their family had all the pictures. Maybe their family helped their community get recognized by an oppressed government. And they had all this paperwork. And then the next person they meet that don't have all the stuff on paper, You have oral traditions, and it's as if it's insignificant. Oral traditions are insignificant for some people. They've been so conditioned to believe that it's not true unless a white person jotted it down in a journal and published it. Unless a person in a influential position, high position, who happened to be white back then. Unless he, not she, he documented that, then everything else is insufficient. Everything else is a fairy tale. Everything else is bogus. There are so many cultures out there that pass down knowledge verbally, right? Verbally. That's how they communicate it. But you have, people that come to this region and they jot down their experience with these exotic people and what they look like, and they will spell out words based on how it sounds with English letters, but maybe they didn't get it just right, but that's all that we have left, so we have to build on that. Yeah, that's one thing I don't have the patience for anymore. I've come across several people the past few years that I'll meet at something that's related to Native American. And you talking about lofty? I've come across people who are darker than me with that screams sub-Saharan African, okay? That were trolling me. Not just on YouTube right here. They were trolling me on Facebook. I had to block several people. And I'm saying to myself, there must be some insecurity going on with you for you to be spending so much time and effort trying to troll me. Literally 2 years ago, an associate friend who actually met me on YouTube, by the way, and she invited me to her powwow. She's definitely a sweet person. And she's always been kind of like my advocate when I first started YouTube, people talking smack about me. And she pretty much brought to my attention a couple of years ago that apparently on some website, and I'm trying to remember the name of the website, where my pictures were posted on there, and whoever this person was said, "Oh, this is my coworker. She gave me permission to post her pictures. She is Melungeon, and she's half Cherokee and half Black." I was like, what? When did I ever come out of my mouth? If anybody has been keeping up with me on at least YouTube, when did I ever come out of my mouth and said I was Melungeon? Never. When did I ever come out of my mouth and even said I was Cherokee? Never. Now, am I denying that there may possibly be a Cherokee connection, being I have people from the state of North Carolina? I'm not denying that. But I have no connection with them. And I don't desire to have a connection with Cherokee people. I just don't. But this person took it upon his or herself, and not in a negative way, like trying to tear me down, but almost like created this fantasy that I worked with them, that I gave them permission to use my pictures. And you know what? One thing about Facebook, I can pretty much block or keep private a lot of my pictures. If I put something on YouTube, it's public. Public. My YouTube channel is public. So those pictures that was on that one website, claiming that I gave them permission to use it, was actually pictures in one of my videos that I had displayed. Those were the same pictures. So they took the same pictures off of that YouTube video and claim that I gave them permission and that I worked with them. So anyway, that friend of mine, she brought it to my attention. She said, this is so disrespectful, using your pictures like that. And I didn't really take like offense to it because the person wasn't being negative. But at the same time, this person is taking my pictures and claiming that they know me, and they don't know me. And I don't work with people that I'm cool with on the powwow trail. You know what I mean? And people I do work with, if they don't know me personally and they don't take the time to try to get to know me, I don't broadcast my ethnicity or my culture or nothing like that. Face value, they probably see me as a Black woman with something else, but they don't come out and ask me. And I just leave it at that, because I feel like people that I really want to share the information with are people I care about, and I want to spend time and the energy to be around them outside of work. If you haven't got an invitation from me outside of work to hang with me, I'm not going to share any information with you about who I am, my personality, or nothing, because it's none of your business. So anyway, I say all of this because people are going to have something to say regardless. They're just going to have something to say. They'll make up things or whatever. But like I said, those trolls that were coming at me, at least on Facebook, they had their real names up. You know, on Facebook, a lot of people had their real names, not, you know, a screen name like what I have on YouTube. And where they lived, or at least close to where they live, talking smack. And like I said, the main ones were either female and or they look like they have like sub-Saharan African Black just screaming at me when I look at them. But they're 100% Native American, trying to tear me down because they got a card. Really? Also, now that I'm thinking about it, Angela, she's a genealogist. I think she is connected to the Cherokee Freedmen people. She is actually not too far from here today. She's actually doing a genealogy beginner's class or something for like $50. Now, for people that know absolutely nothing about doing their own family tree genealogy and just going online and Googling stuff, or going to sites that are actually free, that they don't have to pay a subscription like Ancestry.com or, you know, other sites, you have free sites that will give you this information. Anyway, Angela, let me see if I can get her name real quick. Angela genealogist. Oh, Angela Y. Bolton Raji. Yeah. She is actually in town, and she's giving a lecture as of right now. Now, I got a notification on my Facebook page because I liked the museum that she's at today. So whenever there's something going on at the museum, you know, I'll get a notification. When I saw that, I said, oh, okay, she's going to be there. But then I thought years ago, I connected with her. I sent her an email. And she had a very, from what I can kind of read between lines, she had a very lofty persona about her as well, because she could find her Indigenous American ancestors on the freedmen rolls. Because remember, you had the 5 civilized tribes, and a lot of people who can find that one ancestor on the rolls, for the most part, will be eligible for tribal enrollment. So of course, she had all this paperwork. She was able to connect to tribal members on the dolls rolls, and she bases her lectures on finding your Indian, Native American, or Indigenous American ancestry via those records. And I think in the email that I sent her, you know what? I might still have that email. Let's see while I'm thinking about it. I may still have that email because I keep every little thing, y'all. I keep every little thing. And I just didn't like that, whatever that was that she sent back to me. Like, well, oh, well, your problem. If you can't find nobody on the roads, then you just out of luck. That she didn't say that exactly, but it was kind of like, you know, that's what I got from it. So let me see if I can find that email, because if I could find it, that would be cool, because then I could read it back to you guys. Let's see. Yep. Did I find it? Let's see. Angela. Her last name was Raji. Walton. I wonder, did I delete it? Because I felt like I would have saved that. Or it could have been on another email. Maybe a Hotmail or something like that. Because I don't see it in my Gmail. I have several email accounts. Let's see what I have here. Hotmail, sign in. Let's see. Let's see if I can remember my password. Okay, I'm not going to spend time looking for it. But anyway, like I said, she's in town and she's giving a $50 beginner's genealogy course. And again, me being me, I'm like, ugh, $50? You can just get an Ancestry account and go from there. But over the years, you know, online genealogy has become easier to utilize versus when she started out. When she started out, she literally had to go to the courthouses to look at all these documents. So I'm giving her respect. Okay, I'm giving her respect because she helped a lot of people, in particular Black folks trying to find their Native American ancestry. She helped a lot of people start that footwork from the ground up before online records. So maybe that's what she's teaching people, as well as online records and people that would actually like to meet her. Me, on the other hand, I'm not really pressed, because I could have went to see her today. Yeah, so I think she did a cameo in that book that I was talking about the other week about Indivisible Lives, African Native American Lives of the Americas. It was based on a traveling exhibit at the National Museum of the American Indian. In that book, like I was telling you, I believe Angela Walton Raji, she talked about, you know, things over the years that she's come across, and she made a comment in that book that she had to revise some of her search tactics, and she didn't know much about Virginians, and pretty much she didn't know much about the southeastern states and how things worked in those states or east of the Mississippi River, because she was coming from an Oklahoma mindset and how things were over there. And so she had to learn how things were over here, and a lot of the hurdles that we as novice genealogists had to deal with that didn't necessarily counsel our Indigenous American identity just because we didn't have a relative on the Dawes Rolls. There were no Dawes Rolls over here. The Dawes Rolls were for people who migrated from over here to the east of the Mississippi into Oklahoma. And some people didn't get on any rolls. So just because they weren't written down on a piece of paper, that does not mean that they just automatically was obsolete, that they were extinct. Now, maybe on paper, that's what happened, paper genocide. But that doesn't necessarily mean, oh, well, they're just not Native American now because they didn't sign on that piece of paper. Or they didn't leave their mark, because many people didn't know how to write, and they didn't know how to read, and they didn't even know what they were signing half the time. So she had to get over that. So I give her props for seeing the complexities of the descendants of indigenous people here and how to find creative ways to find some of those records. But before that, and that little comment she gave me in that email, that whole lofty explanation about the whole roles and dolls roles, everything is not black and white. And by telling somebody, well, you just out of luck if you can't find them on the rolls. How many tribes are there again? How many tribes? There are over 500 federally recognized tribes. And there's quite a few state recognized tribes. There are tribes that are just not recognized either because it's so much red tape and or they don't want to be monitored like cattle. They don't want to be monitored like a GPS system. And that's how they live their lives. So I think she and many people kind of got caught up in the whole paper trail, proving this and proving that. And yeah, so I'm going to start reading some comments because I see a lot of communication going on right here. Let's see. We have Roots and Liberty. I'm going to call you Roots if you don't mind. Cherokee is the stereotype when you're Native. Yeah. That's another reason why I know people that do have some connection to the Cherokee people and they choose not to because they don't want to be laughed at or looked down on, because once again, a Cherokee princess, my great-great-grandmother was a Cherokee princess. So they don't even say nothing about no Cherokee, which is kind of sad. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. And then, let's see. Okay, Coco Monroe said race and culture when I asked you that question, I don't know, like 20 minutes ago. So thank you for answering that. Exactly, why not learn both things? Again, I'm into linguistics, learning Lenape, Algonquian, even though my Saponi people will be learning Tutelo, right? Is under the Siouan umbrella, right? The Piedmont area, they would have spoke Tutelo versus Algonquin. But to me, that Algonquin is like a trade language, just like English. So a lot of the tribal communities, they did speak some sort of Algonquin when it comes to trading, right? So I say modern times, pick something that's indigenous, that's close to what your people would have spoken, and allow it to be a living language within your life. And so, like I mentioned, I'm learning Lenape, which is a dialect of Algonquin, Lenape. Also, as an adult, I'm learning different cultural things within my region and building on that. And again, there will be people who I'm thinking of this music video that I saw the other day called Snooty Natives. I think it was called Snooty Natives. Snooty Natives is a rap song. And I found it kind of funny because even these so-called natives that were born and raised in and or around a reservation, they see it too. They definitely see it. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, it's called, the name of the song is Bougie Natives. And the name of the group is called Snooty Nose Reds Kids. So I was listening to that song and looking at the video. I said, yep, I've met a few. That stuff don't stink, okay? But, you know, I think we need to get to a place where we are not bothered by other people's acknowledgement. We're not bothered by the tribal police. And there's quite a few of them. They're bothered by us, but we shouldn't be bothered by them. We should continue to learn the language, participate as much as we can in whatever culture events that we have access to, because not everything is public, right? And build relationships, because the more we build relationships and get to know people, and the more they get to know us, the easier it will be to have allies who are on the other side, who are recognized by the feds, you know? And again, if your goal is federal recognition, apparently there is a way that you can be federally recognized without actually being a member of that tribe. I found that out years ago. You have to just go through the federal government to do that. Let me see if I can, again, a lot of these little links I'm gonna post later once I get situated. So you know what I'm talking about. I'm getting this from the U.S. Department of Interior Indian Affairs. Let me see if I can find it. Because it's somewhere on this website. And me being me, I searched and I found a way where people can actually become federally recognized without being a member of a tribal community. You have to be some shape or form. You have to be related to a federally recognized tribe. Related. You can become federally recognized through the federal government without necessarily being a tribal enrolled tribal member. Yep. So once I find that link and everything, I'll put it in the description box so you guys can check it out. But yeah, there is a way to go through the federal government and not have to deal with the tribal people or the tribal police over there. But yeah, Indian Affairs. Yep. Okay, so anyway, let me keep reading here. Let's see. Coco says most Native was put down as color back then. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of Natives were put down as color. If you could pass for one monoracial group, because again, in Virginia, all they saw was either white or black. There was no in between and all that. After Natives were supposed to be forced out to Oklahoma or west of the Mississippi, they really said either white or black, ain't no in between. So if you could pass for whatever monoracial, they'll throw you in that category for the most part. Let's see. Root says being mixed race is subjective to the person categorizing one. Yeah, it is very subjective. Now, you guys know there's going to be a 2020 census coming up. Now, when I filled out the 2000 census, I self-identified as multiracial. And I put Black and I put Indigenous American, you know, the tribal community that I'm connected to. And the past few years, a lot of people was like, one thing we have to realize, if you reference anything Black, it cancels out, for whatever reason, everything else you wrote, because they're gonna just put you, they're gonna consider that Black and put that within the Black category, versus saying I'm just whatever. I don't like this, guys, but this is still the system. People are still brainwashed with the whole Jim Crow one drop rule thing. So a lot of my Indigenous American friends, associates are saying, guys, please put down whatever your tribe community is. Don't even put mixed or anything like that, regardless if it's mixed with Asian or whatever, or white. Just put the tribal community down, whatever that is. Just so at least on paper, there is acknowledgement of tribal communities and what states they're in and stuff like that. And so I'm kind of going back and forth with the whole U.S. Census, like how I'm going to self-identify, because they started the whole self-identification option in 2000, year 2000. And so they're continuing to do that. So this time I'm still thinking, you know, how am I going to do this or whatever. So what do you guys think? How should we self-identify on the 2020 census? I'm putting it out there. Okay, so Ruth says, I'm happy to have caught the email. You are on live. I haven't seen you in years. Ruth, hi, Ruth. You haven't seen me in years. Have I ever met you in person? Because your screen name looks very, very, very familiar. And it has been quite a while. Okay, so I guess you got a notification that I was live. So I'm happy that you actually chimed in, Roots. Thank you so much. Because again, whenever I do these live videos, I don't announce that I'm about to do it. I just started. So I don't want to announce that I'm going to do something and then something comes up, you know. But here lately, Fridays are working for me after work. And today I don't have anything scheduled to do. So it just happened to work out for me on a Saturday. But Fridays seem like it's working out for me. So we shall see. The goal for me is to be more active on YouTube, because I'm very active on Facebook, but I'm not active on YouTube. And so my goal is to be very active at least once a week, right? Be active and interact with you guys. And just, I don't want to regurgitate information that's already out there. When I first started this YouTube channel, there wasn't a whole lot of videos about, you know, Black and Indian or Indian and African and Native American and all that. So there was a niche there. Now I see all kinds of videos. And not just that, but also a lot of videos about DNA testing and this and that. So, but yeah, so I'm thinking you guys put out there some suggestions that you think I should talk about that's still within the umbrella of what I'm about. Of course, my name is Black and Indigenous American. So anything and everything, in my opinion, that directly and indirectly affects my community, I want to know. So leave your suggestions. I will be happy to take them into consideration. And this video actually is because a YouTuber suggested that I talk about a particular tribe. And I'm still hesitant if I even want to talk about the specific tribe, but the tribe is in North Carolina. And I did mention the whole, I'm 100% Native American in public, but there's parts of that person or those group of people that show their diversity racially. So I'll keep it vague. Let's just put it that way. And I think I've been keeping it vague pretty much throughout this video about that tribe. Because that tribe is huge. And there's some, just like any family, there's that inner nitpicking. If you don't look a certain way, you don't act a certain way, you know, you act too black or you act too this. And so you have a lot of that going on. But in public, on the public stage, they are united. And whenever I see those little pageants, little Miss this and Miss that, and I see what's displayed for the world to see, these are the young women that's supposed to represent their community. And I'm like, now y'all know those are not the only images that you have within your community. But it's presented that way so you don't think that there's a large percentage of them that actually don't look like that. It's not just like a little hiccup here and there or a little hookup here and there that makes the members, some small percentage, 1% of members look kind of like me, and everybody else look like the pageant Miss this and little Miss that. Just saying. Just saying. Let's see. Ruth says, Afro-Native people need to learn about each other. We exist from North America to Central America to South America to the Caribbean islands. Yep, I agree. Coco says, but the way I see it, who cares as long as you know what are you and your information, that all matters. So true. And surround yourself around like-minded people. I would like to add that, because you have people who are members of communities that turn their nose up at people or whatever, and they get it. They're outside of their community. They've been around different people, diversity for a few years. They get it. And so I have an ally that happens to be a member of that particular tribal community that has a reputation for being discriminative towards people that look like me, or towards people that look very European looking, but they happen to be, you know, obviously Indigenous American as well. Let's see. Ruth says, yeah, I read that already. Coco says, shake my hand, they better stop trolling you, girl. I haven't had a lot of hate on YouTube in a long time, When I dropped that DNA results video, I say 99% of those trolls bounced. Now I have some new trolls that pop up every so often. And I don't know if YouTube has created this block system where if anything is very very toxic, you know, they just don't post it to my page. Maybe I'm just not getting as many as I used to. But I used to get them all the time. I mean, you have people say, well, you shouldn't have an opinion about tribal disenrollment because you're not even Native American. You're just Black. I get that quite a few times. You'll have some people say, if you don't have federal recognition, then you're not Native American. You're just a wannabe. Again, in this country, Indigenous American people are the only people that are conditioned to believe that they have to have an identification card to say what and who they are. I can't think of no other people in this country that have to do that. Not at all. There are so many programs out there for just minorities in general, for being a woman, for being disabled, and the list goes on and on and on. The people qualify for programs. And when it comes to race, somebody can say, oh, I'm Black and I want to apply to this scholarship because I'm Black and I'm a woman. Do you really think they're going to ask you to pull your identification out and prove that you're Black or prove that you're Hispanic? I've said this before in another video. I knew someone who told me that when she was applying for a mortgage to buy her house, she was told that if she were to put down that she was Hispanic, she would get better mortgage options and a lower interest rate. If she put down Black, then she would have a higher interest rate. Oh yes, it's real. And I think she bought her house, it was in the late 90s in Northern Virginia. So being that her name kind of sound, you know, Latin or whatever, she got away with it. She has lighter skin. Her name sounds kind of Spanish, Latin. She put down Puerto Rican and she got a lower interest rate. She didn't have to prove that she was Hispanic or, you know, whatever. No. Because in actuality, Hispanic is culture. It's not a race. It's just not. It's a culture. But yeah, when it comes to Indigenous American in this country, there's so many people that have been conditioned, brainwashed to believe that they have to be recognized by the federal government. They have to be an enrolled member of that tribal community in question, right? And if no one has those identification, you know, cards, whatever, then they're wannabes. Why would I want to be part of a community that's just as oppressed as my other community that I don't have to prove to be a member of? I don't. I can qualify for that program without trying to be federally recognized as an Indigenous American because I fall in another minority category. Actually, two other ones. African American woman. Whatever. You just stay on that bandwagon. But at the same time, Tread softly. Tread softly when you're trying to put other people down because they weren't brought up the way you were, or they don't have that recognition from an oppressed government. Tread softly. Because like I said, once upon a time, I said, I'm all about that buyback. Buy back that land, be self-sufficient, learn your language, build on whatever culture that you can build on, create new traditions, be one with nature, be one with the earth, surround yourself around like-minded people, build, create an empire, be under the radar. You ain't under no radar if you got that card or a chip in the back of your neck or whatever, however way they track you as Indigenous American people. There's no staying under the radar. So even though on paper they're considered sovereign, but they're treated like children. They have to go through their father, United States of America, American government for every little thing. For every little thing. The only thing that I think is valuable with federal recognition is land treaty arguments. We've seen over and over again how federal government has gone on a reservation or what have you and destroyed that land. But you do have some powerful indigenous communities financially that have kept the government away from desecrating the land, okay? Because they have the power financially to do that. So I can kind of understand that, you know, as far as trying to keep your water clean, your environment clean, being protective over the land, and everything has a spirit, right? Can't just go in and start raping the environment for profit. It's going to backfire. And not just the communities that are close by, but down the stream. It's going to spread like a wildfire. So having a federal recognition for a piece of land, however many acres, you know, there is some push and pull there, right? But that I can understand, because even if you buy back land as a U.S. citizen without the Indigenous American stamp of approval from the federal government, they can do eminent domain and keep it moving. So that's another thing too. But at the same time, I am an advocate of buying back land and being self-sufficient and taking care of our own selves and not waiting for a handout. There's so many people who are very financially stable. They have rocket star careers. They come from the gutter. Do you know how powerful we could be if all those people made a conscious and serious effort to get all together, to get together and create the society we ought to live in? You don't have to save the world, but you can start with your own community. I was forwarded a video. This happened, I think, in Durham, North Carolina, where this group, I'm assuming Black women, were having a good time at a restaurant. I'm assuming they were too loud. Because one thing about Black folks, at least from the region I'm from, when we get excited, the volume goes up. And we talk and laugh louder, right? So I think that probably is what sparked this confrontation. This white lady, she was like, you guys are some of the most disrespectful people I've ever been around, or something. Of course, this triggered some verbal confrontation. And automatically the women at the table, some woman started recording on her cell phone, the whole thing after the back and forth. And so automatically they thought this lady was a racist. So they was like, oh, what's wrong with my money? My money is just as good as your money here. And we paid to eat and have a good time here. And da 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 da. You're just a racist. And then the woman was like, I'm not a racist. I have Black friends and I love them and da da da. And then all I know is this white woman, like, it just came out of her mouth. She called them the N-word. And that's when it exploded. So this white lady, she takes out her cell phone, all arrogant and smiling with a smirk, like recording them. Like, what you gonna do? You ain't gonna do nothing to me because I'm white. That was her like body language. And I say all of this because many of us believe that we have to continue to sit at the counter begging for service, begging to be respected. Now, granted, maybe that group of women were getting loud. Maybe they were the loudest one in the restaurant. They were having a good time, maybe had a few drinks or whatever, and got loud. I'm not sitting here debating if they were or not, because I got a good feeling they probably was. But at the same time, do you really want to be in a public place where you feel like you have to talk like this all the time? Because we don't want to upset the white people. We don't want to upset and threaten them, because we all know if the cops show up, somebody might not be going home because they felt threatened by us having a good time and living our best lives. Do you really want to continue to build up businesses where they have patrons that go after people like us who are having a good time being Black? What was that thing? A hashtag laughing while Black or whatever like that. Sometimes you just need to be in your own establishments so you can be loud and be comfortable and people not get threatened or upset about it. Because we all have those family reunions or those get-togethers, and we just yakking and having a good time. Usually when it's like a restaurant or something, we kind of try to tone it down. For those who know how to tone it down, many of us don't know how to tone it down. But I say this because take your money and put it over here at an establishment that will be okay with you being, while hashtag laughing while Black, hashtag smiling while Black, hashtag living your best life. They get it. They have cousins and mothers and aunties who laugh like that. They're not threatened by that. You can go to any sports bar where there's no people of color, and these people that are there are drinking and having a good time. You talking about rowdy bunches of people. That is a bar though, so you expect that. You expect, a sports bar to have a lot of, to rest, toss, you know what I'm trying to say. They're rowdy, their favorite team is either winning or losing and drinking and all that. I'm not sure about this particular restaurant with this lady being offended because the party of however many people of color was maybe laughing too loud or talking too loud. I don't know if that was some quiet, intimate setting, high-end 5-star restaurant. I clearly doubt it, because in that video it did not look like no 5-star restaurant. But anyway, put your money in a community that you are received. I'm thinking of the Black dollar right now. There's so many people out there who are within the Black community that spend so much money on other brands other than the brands within their own community. Buying Gucci and buying Versace and all of these high-end brands. For what? For what? You're making somebody else rich that ain't even part of your community. Filthy rich. Versus investing in a clothing brand that's tailored to African Americans. Okay, I'm thinking of a couple of things. When it comes to cultural appropriation, is a really big deal, in particular in Native American, Indigenous American communities. The whole headdress and everything like that. There are some designers now that have their work displayed for models to run the catwalk, and they're high end, and it's not offensive. It's not a specific tribal design or anything like that. It's very generic and it's tasteful. You can invest in that. You can also invest in, like I said, whatever community you're from. Put an extra dollar or two into quality. Just because you're part of that community, that don't mean you always gonna get a discount. Man, come on, man. Come on, man. Why are you gonna charge me that much? Come on, man. Come on. We family. We family. But yet you will drop $250 for some basketball shoes. Or $150 for a pair of Versace sunshades. Or $1,000 for a purse. Come on now. Come on. When I was watching Black Panther, I actually watched it last weekend for like the 100th time because I love that movie. I was just looking at some of the attire and I was like, oh, that's so gorgeous. I love that. I would love to, wear something like that. In particular, when T'Challa, whenever he would walk into a room, he walked with grace and authority. And what he was wearing just screamed pride and excellence, right? I love that. And I'm saying to myself, if you got to drop $1,000 for that, if you're willing to drop $1,000 for a Versace suit, how about you drop one for that? Put your money in establishments and brands that embrace your culture. Because everybody's not going to be receptive. And when you go into their establishments, you have to act a certain way. Not that you were being so ghetto, you just was laughing loud because you were enjoying your meal and you were enjoying life and you were hashtag laughing while Black. Some people can't stand that. So you take your money and you go somewhere else. It's that simple. Don't feel inferior because you don't shop there. I haven't worn Tommy Hilfiger in probably well over 2 decades because I learned the background of that man and how he thought about people of color, in particular Black people. I said, never again will I wear that brand, ever. And I still see Black people wearing Tommy Hilfiger. And I'm like, either you don't know or you really don't care. Like the whole Gucci thing. Some people still wearing Gucci. And yeah. At this point in 2019, going on 2020, at this point in the 21st century, we have options. You don't always have to go sit at the counter and beg for breakfast or coffee at that restaurant. You don't have to sit on a bus in the front where it's not designated for your kind. You don't have to do that anymore. There's so many people, business people out here, they can have their own, bus line if they wanted to. Come on now. Come on. There's a lot of financial power out there that ain't got nothing to do with the norm that we've been conditioned to think that only has the resources. I mean, you have Indigenous American people, and I'm going back to that as well because I'm connected to that, as well as African American, Black, Sub-Saharan, whatever. Those are the communities, or at least the races that I am connected to, and that's why I keep going back and forth. But you have that percentage of people who have deep pockets that are Indigenous American from the United States. That's what I'm talking about. Have very deep pockets. Very deep pockets. So I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video after I read the comments, and then later on I will add those links for you guys. Also, what I'm starting to do when I have these long videos like this, I'm also going to put the timestamp in the description box of whatever topics I'm talking about. So for people that are not interested in every little thing I'm saying, they can drop down to that portion of the video that they care about and they want to hear about. So I'll start doing that as well. Let's see. So anyway, let's see. Coco Monroe says, but the way I see it, who cares? Okay, I already read that. Coco Monroe said they do steal pictures of people, then label you. Yeah, gonna label me as a Melungeon. And I have nothing against Melungeons, right? There are Melungeons in the Appalachian Mountains in Virginia, right? There's also information about the Melungeons being a mixture of Portuguese people and Indigenous American people and Black. So maybe there was somebody that kind of looked like me that's Melungeon, but still, come on now. Come on. Are you really that pressed to go and get somebody's picture online and claim that we're co-workers? I mean, this whole story. So let's see. Ruth says, I think she's talking about the Lumbee people. Let's see. Ruth says, Americ says to Roots, to each is her own. God bless you. Sweet says, in South you have mixed people. And then Sweet also says they feel like they are better. Okay. Americ is 21 years old from Florida. I'm assuming a couple of Indigenous American groups that you're linked to. The only reason why I'm thinking of those because they're recognized. But thanks for watching. Let's see. Americ Indian says, did any of you know that the original Europeans that invaded our continent were known as people of color? They were tawny and or swarthy looking people. Interesting. I did not know that they were considered people of color. Huh. Thanks for sharing that. I'm gonna have to look into that. Let's see. I'm gonna drop down a little bit more. Okay, Amerikeek says at Nijibon, the so-called white people were the original slaves that were brought here from Ireland and Scotland. You know, I came across something, I didn't read too much into it, but I came across something about Cape Fear and a connection or a link to Scotch-Irish people. So I definitely, and there's not a lot of content out there about Scotch-Irish people in the southeast of the United States. They have significance as well. As many people know, have done research on the caste system within Europe. Scotch-Irish people are kind of like at the bottom. maybe not even kind of, they were at the bottom. And so many of those people were considered indentured servants or what have you, or cabin boys on ships coming over here. I mentioned in Michael Greyhawk Parsons' book, Hope on Hatteras, there's this character in the book who was Scotch-Irish and how he was treated and all that. So this definitely was not a fairy tale for the Scotch-Irish people at all. At all. If you guys have seen the movie Gangs of New York, Leonardo DiCaprio played in that movie. That gave you a taste of what the Scotch-Irish people had to go through. They were treated worse than you would think, but they were treated worse than Native African-American people, Black people. That's how far down the totem pole that group of people were seen as. And so many of us get caught up in our stories and the oppression towards our people, and we forget about other people who were not given that silver spoon. You know what I mean? So we have to learn about other people's oppression to appreciate what they had to go through, and not focus so much on us and what we had to go through. We have to understand other people and where they're coming from. I got a little bell sound, which is telling me I need to wrap this up. I hear the bell. Okay. Let's see. Coco Monroe. I was just wondering about that. Segregation is a must. Okay. I've touched on that before. And I think at this point, we need to just be around like-minded people. Build each other up, uplift each other, empower each other. We are empowerment. We need to raise our vibrations. And by doing so, we will make the world a better place than to force feed other people to respect not only us, but respect themselves, respect the earth and everything like that. Force feeding that. Eventually, you will much rather use your energy uplifting yourself and uplifting people that, are like-minded. I know I'm about to end.
Want me to sing Kumbaya?
No, come here.
No.
You don't have to get in the camera, but say something. Say something in Algonquian. It doesn't have to be a prayer or anything, but just, say something in Algonquian, introducing yourself, but without saying anything about yourself in English.
No wensi kwano na wampik. Olielo payak. Kulumal si hach tuwinama. Akmana tuwinini. La Pichkanawe.
He introduced himself and he says, good day. And he says, how are you? And he says, I am fine. And then he says, thank you, family, and see you later.
What about my name?
You introduced yourself.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're learning Algonquian, Le Nape dialect, helping each other. Love them, love them, love them. Don't like them sometimes, but I love them.
Tahole.
Tahole means I love you. Tahole. La Pichkanawe means see you later. Like literally, I'm gonna be done with this video in like 2 minutes because it's over 2 hours. Okay. You got anything else to say in Algonquian?
La Pichkanawe.
You just said that.
Right.
See you later. It's hot. You done? Anything else?
Si, señorita.
No, we ain't speaking Spanish. That's European. We're not speaking European language. We're only speaking indigenous. We already talking English. That's enough.
Tamo di unige elusti.
Okay. All right. So anyway, I have to go, guys. But yeah, Oh, American Indian says, I'm very impressed. We all need to know how to speak our language again. Yes, we have to. We have to make an effort to learn. Language is power. Language, culture, spirituality, all that is power. And many of us are now tapping back. We're going back, right? We're going back to our identity, be it language, be it food, be it religion, or at least the belief system, right? We're going back to that. I say take the creme de la creme of whatever you've learned over the years and whatever your folks have learned over the years and over the generations. Toss out whatever doesn't apply or doesn't resonate with you, and then build on that. Okay. I'm getting hungry. I'm thinking about a salad. And are you thinking about a salad?
Oi, fish near.
Huh?
Oi, geval.
Are you speaking Jewish
No, that's Hebrew.
or Hebrew? What did you say?
It's just an expression to say it's time to get off YouTube.
Okay, you getting tired? Are we doing salads or what are we doing?
Yes.
All right, we need to go eat healthy before we crash and burn and go out and eat a whole pizza. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Be blessed, be a blessing to others. Until next time. And there will definitely be a next time. Keep loving each other. Self-love and all that good stuff. Take care. Bye-bye. Be blessed. Bye-bye. Toodles.